Page 128. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you in this week preceding Thanksgiving, and good to see everybody who is on our live stream. Even though I can't see you, I know you are seeing us, and you are very much with us. As we do every Friday night, since the war began, we're going to start with a prayer for the hostages. So I invite you to please, if you have one of these little pieces of paper with the names of the hostages on them, I invite you to please rise at this time, and we will share their names.
Ohad ben Esther. Ohad ben Esther. Omer ben Malka. Omer ben Neva. Omer ben Orna Esther. Omri ben Veronica Esther. ben Geula, Agam bat Merav, Sasha Alexander ben Yelena, Elon ben Idi, Arbel bat Yael, Arel ben Shiri, Arel ben Sildana.
Achenu v'achiotenu kol beit Yisrael. Please rise. Hanatunim b'tzara u'v'shivya. Ha'omdim ben bayam u'ben bayabasha. Hamakom yirachem alehem. V'yotzi'em mitzara l'revacha. U'me'afela l'ora. U'meshi'abud l'geula. Hashta ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Together, our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel, who are in distress and captivity, who wander over sea and over land. May God have mercy on them and bring them from distress to comfort, from darkness to light, from slavery to redemption, now swiftly and soon. It would bring so much light into this Thanksgiving season to know that an end to the war and a return of the hostages was coming. So this is our constant prayer here at TBT. Marlene, Jeff, would you like to come light the Shabbat candles? Invite everybody else to have a seat. Turn to page 128 for the blessing over the candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlikneh shel Shabbat. Thank you, Marlene and Jeff. Shabbat Shalom. Legend has it that the Baal Shem Tov, who was the father and founder of the Hasidic movement of Judaism, one time visited a community in the countryside, and this particular synagogue, he was told before he arrived there, was full of prayer. Full of prayer. They thought this was a compliment until the Baal Shem Tov explained to them that every time a prayer is not said with sincerity or kavanah, it is like a lead balloon. Like a lead balloon. A prayer without kavanah remains below. And after a while, all of these heavy, heavy prayers just linger. They fill the synagogue, so there's no more room for all the other prayers. Rather, those prayers should be like helium balloons, which I wonder if they had in the days of the Baal Shem Tov. I don't know. But they should be said with our hearts, such that they rise. And it's a tough thing, I admit. I think it's a very aspirational teaching that the Baal Shem Tov has, to create a place where the prayers ascend because we say them with deep intention and feeling. There is an eternal tension between the words and the page, the unchanging liturgy on the one hand, and the words of our hearts. And ideally, we work and we practice in prayer such that the one meets the other, and where the two meet, there is genuine kavanah, intention, sincerity. And I don't think it's a reasonable goal to think that we'll get there every prayer we pray, or even in every service, but maybe to aim for one deep, real connection point every time you pray would be a good goal to start. And I think that moving beyond that takes a lot of time and a lot of work. It has for me anyway. So let's just start with that as our intention, as our kavanah tonight. Let's find that balloon somewhere inside our spiritual center that wants to rise, rise, rise. Page 130, as we begin Kabbalat Shabbat together. Lechu niranena Adonai Nariya וצור ישענו, נקדם אף עניו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו. That means come let us sing with great joy, raise out a shout for the rock of existence. Let us come into God's presence with great praise. Let us raise our voices, raise a shout in song. Page 134. Zameru Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bachatzotzrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Zameru Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bachatzotzrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel veyoshvei bam, neharot imcha uchav, yachad harim yiranenu. 4 lines from the bottom. Lifnei Adonai, Lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpot haaretz, lishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim ve'mesharim. Back to Yiram. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yoshvei bam. Page 138. Lecha Dodi. Yala la 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 lecha Dodi. Yala la 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 likrat kala. Yala la 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 pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'diborecha yishmianu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad v'shem u'tiferet v'litila yadada yadada lecha dodi yadada likrat kala yadada pnei Shabbat nekavela לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נשוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יאללה לה 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 לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקרא. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרא. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי. כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת to greet Shabbat. Verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, kam b'simcha u'v'tzola, toch emunei am skula. Boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela. Yalla la 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 lecha dodi, yalla la 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 likrat kala, yalla la 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 pnei Shabbat nekavela. Page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbam, ve'almad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala, u'vizman kariv ve'imeru, yeshmei Rabba mevorach, V'yitparach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesham brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ve'alama ve'meru. Page 146. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Turn the page and read together a blessing for the evening. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, the ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 151. We read together, as you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nehege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Leolam Va'ed. Nala Shevet, we may all have a seat. Page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta abam, v'shivtecha bevetecha, uvelechtecha v'aderech, uv'shochvecha uv'kumecha, ukeshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'hisharecha, Leman tizkeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem keroshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liod lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem. Amen. Page 159. Let's read this together. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, for soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Micha Mocha is on the opposite page. Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, noratei lo osei feleh, noratei lo osei feleh. Malechutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Page 161. A really good wish for a time like this. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. This is a weekend before Thanksgiving. I think that in our national consciousness, we sometimes think that Thanksgiving has been something made official and eternal ever since that mythical encounter between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. And putting aside the historical dubiousness of those stories, it's just not true. Thanksgiving has only been a holiday for a very, very young 150-some years, I think, right? It was maybe a little longer than that. It was declared a holiday by President Lincoln, and he declared it a holiday in the midst of the Civil War, at really the bloodiest, most horrific point in the Civil War in 1863, where he declared that it should be, I wrote this one down somewhere. Among other things, he publicly proclaimed that Thanksgiving should combat the country's, quote, lamentable civil strife and serve to, quote, heal the wounds of the nation. So no one holiday can do that, of course, but it's a good reminder that if the argument around the couch or the table devolves, then it is in fact doing exactly the opposite of the point of the way the president intended it to be. So, I don't know that I have an instant solution to that problem, other than that maybe it's time to put those conversations to the side and focus on the things that we can all agree on, which are the love and concern that we have for our country together. So as we think about peace and friendship and potential healing that our country needs very much, we sing this Hashkivenu reflection, page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Le'esham. Let there be love. Let's all try it. And understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding Ashkivenu, Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ashkivenu, Le'eshalom. That side. Keep doing Hashkivenu with Josh, okay? Here we go. Hashkivenu. Only this side. Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu. Le'eshalom. Keep that up. Here we go, everybody. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. V'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu lechaim. Last time, let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. One more time, like you really believe it. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Baruch Ata Adonai, HaPorei Sukat Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We turn the page to encounter this thought. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. The Sabbath arrives in the world, scattering a song into the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. If it's comfortable, please rise as we transition to the Amidah. Page 164. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chazadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagin Baruch Atah Adonai Magin Avram Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'lam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid Agashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayei Memunato Lishenei Afar Michamucha Baal Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechayei Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yihallelu chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Take a moment of private prayer, perhaps an opportunity to fill one of those kavanah balloons and let it ascend. Yiyu liratzon imrei fi ve'yoni bi lefanecha Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali. You can try this with me. Yihiu liratzon imrei fi ve'yoni bi lefanecha Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my Redeemer. Yiyu liratzon imrei fi ve'yoni bi lefanecha Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali. May the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock, my Redeemer. Yihiu liratzon imrei fi Yihiu liratzon imrei fi. Sharing a brief intention here to lead into our healing prayer. This is called On Coming Out of Dark Places. Creator, I have been in such dark places, a flashlight was useless. I have felt fear, no words could comfort me. I seemed lost, and yet, through your compassion and loving kindness, I am here now. Blessed are you, the guardian of all, who carries me to a safe place. Let's create for one another a safe place as we acknowledge the illness and suffering and pain in our world and in our families and in our own lives. We think of those who are in need of healing within our community and our families, including Mark Warner, Wendy Lee, Bruce Petroff, Paul Frisman, Kenneth Schachter, Shelley Koslow, Vivian Liu, Lauren Thalen, Diana Rosenberg-Garabo, Steve Asnis, Shoshana Zoheret bat Sarah Esther v'Abba Mendel, Hopper Chu, Gary Page, Stuart Katz, Mark Ostreicher, Bart Young, Sydney Scher, Matthew Pincus, Max White, Jodell Young, Dan Keefe, Al Missouri, Hardy Schreiber, Beth Zagoria, Margie Lipschitz Shapiro, Ze'ev Ben Bluma, Michael Campanelli, Emily Belgard, Ned Doyle, Les Nathan, Jane Lesser, Pat Missouri. There are others in our community for whom we are offering a Misha Berach prayer this evening. If you'd like to share their name with the community, you're more than welcome to. Please. Marnie Katz, Mary Gregory, Jill Lastingame, we hold all of our dear ones in our hearts and offer this prayer for their healing of body, mind, or spirit. Misha Berach is at the bottom of your daf tefillah, your prayer sheets. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imoteinu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the ones who blessed our mothers, may the ones who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your home. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imoteinu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, bless us as well. Highlight from this week's Torah portion, the very first plot of land is purchased. You know where it is? I give you a hint. It's not Jerusalem. It's got nothing to do with the temple or sacrifices. And it's in a place where there wasn't nothing before it. Anybody know? It's a cemetery plot called Ma'arat HaMachpelah. I knew you knew it. I knew you knew it. Just come to Torah study a little bit more. You'll get it next time. Ma'arat HaMachpelah, which today we know as the Cave of the Patriarchs. And it's not so surprising that this would be the very first purchase when Sarah and Abraham arrive in the Promised Land. After all, it has been the case throughout Jewish history. The first communal institution to arise whenever Jews set down roots in a new place is cemetery. If you've ever gone on a tour through Eastern Europe and you've seen a lot of synagogues, they'll always tell you about how the very first thing that was there was the cemetery. Usually it predates the synagogue by quite a lot. That was the case according to the Bible in the Promised Land. It's a practical matter and an indication that we want to be someplace for the long term, at least hopefully. Now, apart from the fact that Sarah and Abraham had finally arrived at the destination of their epic journey that they began in chapter 12, Lech Lecha, the thing that elevates this particular real estate transaction beyond something just mundane is its emphatic above-boardness. Abraham parleys with a Hittite, an individual who had been living in the area, the people who had possession of the land. He bows down low. The Hittite bows down low back to them. There's so much decorum and respect. Abraham offers a princely sum for the land that he is to purchase. Yet he is repeatedly offered that land for free. I quote, "I give you the field, I give you the cave in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people." Yet, Abraham insists on paying a fair price, 400 shekels of silver, which was probably a good chunk of change, described in the Torah as the market rate. Hence, the very first plot of Jewish land was not taken by force, nor was it empty and merely entered or settled. It was purchased fair and square. Genesis emphasizes this repeatedly. This way, of course, nobody could possibly question the legitimacy of the transaction. Now, reading this story, one gets the feeling that even thousands of years ago, our ancestors felt a strong need to defend their connection to this land. In the past few weeks, events have certainly been playing out on the world stage that reflect this dilemma, and you'd be forgiven for not noticing or paying too much attention to them given all that's been going on in this country, but it has certainly been a week. Now, of course, a few weeks ago in Amsterdam, an organized gang targeted Israeli and Jewish soccer fans. These were not mere scuffles and boys being boys type of soccer stuff, but rather a coordinated attempt to hunt down and attack Jews around the city. Very simply, it was a terror attack, a modern-day pogrom, and how terrifying it was. This week, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant. They have both been charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity. Both of these events are highly disturbing for different reasons, and they are both worthy of our attention. I'm wanting to raise them tonight because I want to dive in just a little bit to show how they illustrate the way that anti-Semitism functions on the world stage. I'm sorry that we're living through times such as these, but there's a lot we can learn here. So let's take the two events one by one. Consider the ICC arrest warrant. I'm going to share just a few of the people who also have been issued ICC arrest warrants against. There's Joseph Kony of Uganda. He is the leader or former leader of the so-called Lord's Resistance Army, the LRA. He is accused of mass child abductions and forced conscription of children soldiers, sex trafficking, using abducted children as human shields, and horrific mass killings and mutilations. Omar al-Bashir of Sudan, incited for the genocide in Darfur. And then Vladimir Putin. You could read a lot more names that are on that list. If you go to the ICC website and you scroll down the list, it's a never-ending list of strongmen and butchers. And so to read through that list and then to arrive at democratically elected Israeli officials, I have to say, makes my stomach turn. And as you probably know, I am no great fan of Bibi Netanyahu. But the treatment by the International Criminal Court reeks of the sort of demonization and double standards that international bodies have been hurling at Israel for decades, and the anti-Semitism behind it is palpable. It's an important question, though. How do we differentiate between reasoned criticism and holding those in power to account versus anti-Semitism, hate, the hatred of Jews. Well, to that, the great refusenik and Israeli statesman Natan Sharansky offers a very clear answer, which I think is quite useful. He calls them the 3 Ds: demonization, double standards, and delegitimization. Let's take them one by one. First, demonization. This is when Jews or Israelis are portrayed as evil, malevolent, or controlling as a group, responsible for society's wrongs. For conspiracy theorists, Israel and Jews are always somewhere in the conspiracy if you dig deep enough. Sometimes they're right at the surface. But eventually, if you keep listening to the screeds, which unfortunately are going on all throughout our country right now, there is always eventually a Netanyahu or a Soros or a Rothschild, and you can probably name others. So the pogrom that took place in Amsterdam is a tangible and horrific example of demonization. And that's obvious to anybody who's paying attention to it, because it wasn't just Israelis whom these thugs were targeting in an organized way. It was anybody who was identifiably Jewish that they went after. And my skin crawls saying these words. Just to be clear, if it was just Israelis, it would also be horrible and anti-Semitic. Just the same way that anybody going to attack a Russian or Chinese person because they are upset with the actions of the leader of that person's home country would be a bigoted action. So that is a demonization of people. Second, double standards. Double standard is exactly what it sounds like, when Israel is held to a different standard than other nations. Now, since 2015, Israel has received many sanctions and similar punitive matters from the United Nations General Assembly. In 2023 alone, the UN passed 14 resolutions specifically targeting Israel, while countries such as Russia, North Korea, Myanmar, Syria, and Iran went virtually unmentioned. So just think about it. Since 2015, Israel has been sanctioned more than twice as often as the rest of the world put together. How can you explain that? While international bodies of justice scrutinize Israel, something is very out of balance. I would add that creating a moral equivalence between Israel's political and military leaders on the one hand, and Hamas and its vile ideology is a very harmful and very morally blind way to think about reality. And that's exactly what this body has done by issuing warrants for both Israeli and Hamas leaders. All right, so we've heard about demonization, we've heard about double standards. The third one is delegitimization. This is simply denying Israel's right to exist as a Jewish country at a seat at the table of nations. Israel is party to a geopolitical conflict. We all know this. And it shares responsibility in resolving this geopolitical conflict. But there is another party too, actually many other parties in that conflict. And to lay the onus of the conflict solely at Israel's feet is a distortion of history. How quickly the world forgets. How instantly TikTok forgets. In fact, I think it never really knew. How quickly the world forgets, for instance, the 1967 3 no's of the Arab League. In 1967, this body of over 20 Arab nations resolved that there would be no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. And yet, Israel has accepted and offered peace plans with its Arab neighbors so many times. In 1936, 1947, during the 70s, during the 90s, again during the Oslo process, later in the Oslo process around the year 2000. Arab leaders in the region, with 2 exceptions, have only ever rejected these peace plans. Israel, as you know, did make peace with Egypt and with Jordan. And lately, thank goodness, there has been a renewed peace process with some further out Arab countries, as part of the Abraham Accords. Although Hamas's attack put all of that on hold, it was going to move forward with Saudi Arabia, but Hamas's attack was partially meant to derail that, and it has succeeded in that for the time being. So that's delegitimization. Demonization, double standards, delegitimization. If it's one of those three things, it's not just a fair critique, it is hatred and bigotry. Now, it's very hard to tease all of this apart from critique versus anti-Semitism. And I do want to say something that I think is equally important to everything else that I've said so far, which is that when you reject a double standard, you have to accept a single standard, right? The fact is that if Israel did in fact violate international law or its own code of military conduct, as is possible, it must face accountability as such. It must live up to its own stated standards of accountability and reasonable standards that the world has established for it. That seems incredibly unfair because it did not start this war, because it is subject to so much greater scrutiny than other nations unfairly, because it is demonized by these hateful forces unfairly. Unfortunately, this lopsided obligation is merely the price of power in a world in which anti-Semitism will never fully go away. But it is also the responsibility of any responsible country sitting at the table, having that seat at the table of nations. I personally would so much rather have a moral and secure Jewish state in a lopsided world than no Jewish state at all. So there is that. Now, in this week's Torah portion, to go back to where I began, when Abraham and Sarah finally arrive in Canaan, many thousands of years ago, they bought this parcel of land with the utmost respect and scrupulousness. It was an act of hope. It was done in the interest of a promise that had not yet come to fruition, but they still believed. They had to work hard for that promise to come true. And they both died and were buried in this parcel of land, not fully knowing whether it would come true. They had to keep working, them and their children and their children's children, the generations that followed. Jacob and his sons faced exile and bitter hardship, another pattern that would come to repeat again and again throughout history. You think about 1948 to 2024, it's the longest period of time that Jews have had control in our homeland since the days of the Maccabees. And as the world grows increasingly hostile to Jews, there is every reason to continue the fight of the Maccabees, fight for our little parcel of lands, and equally important, to fight for peace. Shabbat Shalom. We now conclude our service, beginning on page 586, with Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu meaning it is on us, our responsibility to make this world something more that all of us may meditate on. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'teit gedula le'otzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu ka'em, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We may all have a seat. I'll share this poem by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not only in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of little children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Tonight, in the period of Shiva Shloshim, 7 or 30 days following the loss of an immediate loved one, we remember Bernard Macnow, father of our member Ethan and Andrea Macnow, and Alfred Soreski, father of our member Donna Fettis. As I read the name of your loved one, feel free to rise if you'd like to do so. Remembering those who have passed away at this time in years gone by, at Yahrzeit, we remember Morris Goldberg, Harvey Perlish, Len Feingold, David Capozzi, Hattie Weiss, Linda Shivek, Myron Gadel, Susan Summer, Kimberly M. Underwood, Vivian Phillips, Jacob Selikoff, Aileen Looney, Esther Stieglitz, Etta B. Flaum, Margaret Russman, Mary Crumbine, Regina Rosenfeld. If there are others here who are in a period of mourning the loss of an immediate relative, whether it's the Shiva or Shloshim, the 7 or 30 days, whether it's the Shana, the year following a loss, or whether you're here to observe a Yahrzeit, I invite you to rise if you feel comfortable. And all of us will now join, rising in solidarity with our mourners and all those in the Jewish family who have lost those we love. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divrach l'reutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'elam u'le'almei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace bring peace into our world and comfort to the hearts of all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We can all have a seat, except for Sabrina, who's here to greet us on behalf of our board. Sabrina, did I give you the announcements already? Great.
Shabbat Shalom. And a warm welcome to all guests here with us tonight. My name is Sabrina Maurer, and as I read these announcements, keep in mind that more details about the following activities can be found in your shofar and shofar blast. Please join us tomorrow for Torah study at 9 a.m. on Zoom only. Rabbi Moss will be leading a conversation about the love story of Isaac and Rebekah. The Social Justice Committee is holding a food drive leading up to Thanksgiving. Please help us address hunger and food insecurity on the shoreline. There are containers and the entrance for your donations, and the last day to donate is November 26th. Thank you to all who have donated already. Our Scholar in Residence weekend is coming up December 6th through the 8th, which amazingly is 2 weeks away, with celebrated Israeli journalist Haviv Rettig-Gur. Details about the weekend can be found in your email, and please remember to RSVP to Caroline in the office for this exciting event. Rabbi Offner will be leading services next Friday night, followed by a festive oneg. Please be sure to check our website and your shofar blast for details on these and many other ways to be a part of the TBT community. Shabbat Shalom and happy Thanksgiving.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Sabrina. I'd also like to say that Sabrina, when she comes to greet, is always on time and always comes ready to do it, which I really appreciate. It really helps the rabbi when our board greeters are here and ready to help. So thank you, double thank you for your diligence in that, Sabrina. You are most appreciated. Closing song tonight will be Adon Olam, page 625. After our service concludes, please join me immediately after for Kiddush and Schmoozing in the social hall. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Ve'acharei Kichot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam Ve'u Haya Ve'u Hoveh Ve'hu yeh betikvah Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Le'am Shilo Le'achvira Adon Olam Ve'li Reishi Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'ha'misra Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Ve'hu Eili V'chai Goali V'tzur Chevli Ve'et Adon Olam Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Beyado Afkid Ruchi Ve'iti Shan Ve'a'ira Adon Olam Ve'im Ruchi Gevi'ati Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. Let's all rise, please. And in the interest of the season, let's turn to page 112. 112, a prayer for our nation. We can read it together at the bottom of the page, 112. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us to appreciate one another and respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body, in spirit, and democracy. Shabbat Shalom.